Welcome to Your Marriage Matterz with Jim and Christie Jacobus. This podcast is dedicated to couples that want to get the most out of this crazy thing we call marriage. Each episode is designed to guide us in a fun and exciting way through the skills, strategies, tactics, and mindset we need to build a compelling life together. Our goal is for all of us to create the vibrant and healthy marriages we all dreamed of when we said I do. Welcome to Your Marriage Matterz with Jim and Christie Jacobus.
Hi, everyone. This is Christie Jacobus and Your Marriage Matterz, podcast number 54. In this episode, we're going to be discussing how do you create a more healthy and vibrant marriage. Last week in podcast number 53, Jim went through his views and his beliefs on what is necessary to build a healthy and vibrant marriage. And in true transparency, I must admit, I do not know what he discussed because I haven't listened to his podcast and we haven't discussed it. So that this would come truly from my beliefs about what is necessary to have the marriage of your dreams. So it's going to be a little different because usually we're here together discussing what our beliefs are. But in order for us to separate out what we think really are the necessary components, we've decided to do this individually. If you're here with us for the first time, welcome. I'm excited that you've decided to join the podcast, Your Marriage Matterz, which tagline is designed to develop healthy and vibrant marriages. We're excited that you're here, and we'll hope you'll continue to join us and also look back to previous podcasts, especially the one before this, so you can get this into some context. We've been doing Your Marriage Matterz podcast for over a year now, and we partner together so that couples can hear about key topics in marriage and relationships. If you've been with us all along, thank you so much for your commitment. And for your feedback and your comments. It's the listener questions and feedback that really help us to develop and grow and see what's of interest to you. So no matter where you are on the journey, thank you for coming along for podcast number 54. So like I said, what we're going to be discussing in this podcast is what are the necessary components to having a healthy and vibrant marriage. What is it that it takes, the qualities within a couple to make their marriage grow and flourish, especially when you consider the designs on our time and how we live in such a fast-paced world. So that's what I'm going to discuss tonight. And one of the things that comes to mind, because I am a marriage counselor, is when couples come to me, what are some of the key elements? Of course, they are usually having problems with communication or conflict resolution. But what are those foundational things that are important in a loving relationship? I'm reading a book by Dr. Robert Sternberg. It's been around for years, but he talks about in love, what are the necessary components? And in looking at this, I thought this is really what's necessary to have a healthy and vibrant marriage. He talks about three really important foundational things. And that's what I'm going to discuss with you tonight. And I want you to assess how are you doing in each of these elements. So in the theory of love, one of the things that's certainly essential is commitment. The idea of I will do whatever it takes to have a healthy and growing marriage. I will do what I need to do to ensure that this is possible. I will make my marriage a priority. I will commit to the vows that I took to love, honor, and cherish my spouse. So when we look at commitment is certainly one of those very foundational things. When you're in a relationship, especially of marriage, you have to commit for what you would do when times are good and what do you do when things aren't so good. I oftentimes will see couples in my office who are struggling, and I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in saving your relationship? Unfortunately, sometimes I'll have a couple come in where one of them is a 10, they're extremely interested in preserving their relationship, and unfortunately the other partner's a 2. They're doing what they feel like they need to do, but they've already basically checked out. You can see that the commitment in that relationship is going to really struggle. I've often asked, can one person do it by themselves? Yes, I think if you're constantly working to be the best person you can be, then you certainly do have a chance for the other person to learn from your modeling, but always with commitment. It really is something that requires two of you. I sometimes have couples, when I ask that question, they're both a 10, they're both committed to having the best relationship possible, and they're really going to have foundational qualities that are going to make their marriage as strong as possible. Unfortunately, I also have the couples who come in where both of them are 2s about saving their relationship. It's kind of like I'm the final step before they go to divorce court. But still, there's lessons to be learned in that, and there's still work to be had. Because your story, even though you're calling it quits in a divorce, still has some factors that have to be worked through. So core number 1 would be commitment. How committed are you to your spouse? The next thing that's extremely important when we're looking at love and what it takes to have a healthy, vibrant marriage is that thought of passion. The things that ignite and excite your relationship. How passionate is your relationship? How passionate are you towards your spouse? And if you've asked yourself that question and you're not really sure, or you think the passion is waning because you've been together for so long, the next question I would ask you is, what could you do to ignite that passion? Certainly, being married for over 30 years, we've seen waxes and wanes in passion. And it sometimes takes a desire on both people's part to reignite the passion that you had. Now, don't confuse passion in the later years with the romantic lust or fervor that you had in your early years. Passion can still be that intense desire to please the other person, be with the other person, and passion is certainly very, very important. One of the things that I'll oftentimes ask my couples is, what are you doing to build new things into your relationship? What are you doing to stay connected? And what are you doing that is new and exciting for your relationship? A lot of times priorities get in the way, other people, opportunities, things get in our way, and it can take away from the passion we have for our spouse. So one of the things that I will ask people to assess is, how is your relationship in regards to passion? The third thing that we would cover when it comes to marriage or relationships is, of course, intimacy. And intimacy can mean a lot of things. It can mean your vulnerability, your transparency, your knowing the other person. But a lot of times it also boils down to, how's your sexual relationship? In marriage, it's the one thing that can allow us to totally be ourselves is through giving ourselves to another person. So when we look at intimacy and we assess where we are and we see that it's lacking, that might be an opportunity for growth. Now, remember, our question is, what do we need to do to have a healthy, vibrant relationship? And health is usually looked at not just physical, mental, emotional, but also spiritual. And intimacy can pull that all together. I know my spouse better than anybody else. I know them so that I could speak for them if I had to. So intimacy means that I have somebody who knows me. And sometimes I'll see relationship where the other person isn't free to be themselves. So when intimacy can be lacking, they can probably think that, oh, what's the use? You don't even really know me. So when people are lacking with intimacy, once again, what are you doing to stay connected to that person? What are you doing to really know the individual? The good, the bad, the ugly. What are you doing so you can know your partner? But also, what are you doing so you totally know yourself? Sometimes one of the hardest things that we have to do as in marriage is to help our partner with things that they're struggling with, especially those parts of us that needs to be encouraged to change. Change is difficult, and sometimes it's in our best interest as a team or in a marriage to help the other person become the best version of themselves. And if I'm in an intimate relationship and you truly know me and you truly have my best interest at heart, your work on helping me to become the best person I can be is crucial. It's very, very important. Because of a relationship in marriage, the partnership, I always tell people if one person is struggling, the marriage is struggling. It might bear the responsibility of one person to do the hard work in a problematic area, but it's still the marriage that struggles. So when you're looking at terms of intimacy, if intimacy is lacking, it can certainly lead to disease within the relationship. So just in review, what I feel like it takes to have a healthy, vibrant marriage is, number one, the things that are the component of love are commitment. I will do whatever it takes to make this marriage the healthy, vibrant, dynamic, joyous relationship that I want it to be. It's not going to be that everything's always going to be easy and that all times are going to be happy, because in life we're going to have struggles. But if I'm committed to have an attitude of commitment toward my relationship, my outlook about how things are going can certainly be improved. The second thing is, what am I doing to ignite passion? Ignite passion in my life and in my relationships, especially the relationship within my spouse. And then finally, what am I doing in regards to intimacy to continually grow closer to my spouse, to continually evaluate and improve our relationship by drawing closer? How connected are we? How much do we share and feel that we're safe to share? What I would ask you to do is evaluate all of those three components. Look at the love within your relationship and decide on a daily basis that I'm going to do my part to make this marriage healthy and happy. Unfortunately, it's a lot of times where I see couples where it's kind of I'll do this if you do this, quid pro quo. I will do for you if you do for me. And in the best relationships, one person is just working as hard as the other person to make their marriage as the best marriage possible. It's sacrificial, and it's the servant attitude that makes for the best marriage. So evaluate where you are on those three components. If you find any one or more of these that are struggling, do a self-assessment that says, okay, what do we need to do to get better at this? In some cases, you can just recommit yourself to getting better in your relationship by fostering your passion for each other, looking at intimacy, and committing to each other. But sometimes you might need help because you've maybe got too much other things, and stress has been a part of your relationship for a while. Once again, our desire at Your Marriage Matters is for couples to have the healthy and vibrant marriages that they dream about. We want to continually give you great advice and information about ways that you can do that, because we truly know that a good marriage is the best way to journey through life and experience all that God has for you. Usually at this time, we'll sign off by sharing with our audience the love and affection that Jim and I have for each other. Since Jim's not here with me on this podcast, I'll have to do it by myself. But to my spouse of 32 years, Jim, I truly love you.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Your Marriage Matters with Jim and Christie Jacobus. We hoped it encouraged you in your journey to building a vibrant and healthy marriage. Before you go, we'd like to ask you a favor. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with others so they can join us on the journey. We would really appreciate it. We will see you next week on Your Marriage Matters.